Most people don't have a good sense of what it takes to design a home from scratch. Everyone knows you hire an architect and then some number of months later you start construction. But what actually happens during those months that gets you from your pins on Pinterest to actually pulling permits, starting construction and getting things built? It's sort of a black box, and most people have no idea what actually happens to develop a design. So this is the first in a 6-part mini-series that shines a light on what that process is in my studio. How I take a client from the very first planning stages all the way through construction. How I structure this nebulous process that involves thousands of individual decisions into something efficient and easily digestible for people that aren't in the building industry. So let's get into it. The very first phase of the design process is known as pre-design. This is quite literally the foundation of the entire design process and sets the stage for every decision that we make going forward. It's where we define the goals and establish the constraints that ultimately shape what we're allowed to design. And there are 2 major components to this. There are the client goals, which are all the things that you bring to the table and want to accomplish. It's sort of the fun stuff. What style home do you want? How many square feet do you want to build? What rooms do you need? What's the budget? Maybe that one's not fun. We'll do a site walk to understand what you like about your site, how you envision using it, where you want to park, where are the views, where you want to spend your evenings after work. There are a ton of these little questions that I'll pose to you that are all about digging into what you truly want out of the project. Because to me, that's sort of the most important part of the entire process. I need to get into your headspace so that when I start putting pen to paper, I'm coming up with concepts that actually resonate with what you want. So that's one side of the pre-design equation. The other major item that we need to wrap our heads around are the external constraints on the property that we have no control over, such as zoning and building codes or HOAs. These are entities that dictate what the maximum allowable square footage is for your property, how close to the property lines we can build, how high we can build, how many cars we need to park, what roof material you can use. It can go on, and in some jurisdictions it can be really complicated to actually wrap your head around and understand what you're actually allowed to build. But it's so critical that we put in the due diligence to understand this up front, so that when we start doing our first concepts, we're going in eyes wide open to make sure that whatever we come up with, it's actually something the HOA or the planning department will actually approve without having to redesign the home that you've fallen in love with. So those are the high-level purposes of pre-design. It's information gathering, comprehensively establishing your design goals, and understanding all of the site constraints. So in practice, how do we do this? To learn your goals, I provide my clients a questionnaire on their lifestyle and their goals, which is then followed up by discussions and interviews to really zoom in on the answers to make sure that I'm interpreting everything correctly. We follow this up with a site visit to discuss how your lifestyle might fit onto the lot. For the site constraints, I put together what's called an entitlement report that succinctly summarizes all of those various criteria that we need to be aware of and have on hand when we're reviewing various design decisions. If need be, I'm reaching out to planners or city staff to ask questions and get clarity. No guesswork. I really hate surprises. You're investing a lot of money into this process, so you probably hate surprises as well. So that's it. With an entitlement report in hand, along with our completed interviews and site visits, we have all we need to start designing. So I'll dive into what that entails in the next video. If you're interested, gently hit the subscribe button so you can learn when that video is available. Thanks, and have a great one.